Almost done, folks. There we are. I can see the white screen. Now let me make sure this is off so we don't
Almost
have
done,
a echo. All right, folks. We are ready to go. Welcome. I love this session. It's one of my favorite in the Academy. It's our 90-day goal setting session. And the reason we do this, let's talk about the reason we do this first, is, people dramatically overestimate things that they do when they are, trying to get something done in a day. We dramatically overestimate our capacity, or a week. In small periods of time, we dramatically overestimate it. We dramatically underestimate what we can achieve in a year. And if anything, this is getting worse and worse and worse, thanks to our, snap, publish, social media type environment, particularly when we're constantly bombarded with messages of people on their trips and traveling, and you see their fabulous Instagram photos, and you just get this constant barrage of all the good stuff that people are doing in life. And when you look at your ho-hum, mundane, gee, this sucks, or it's not where I want to be, life, or as an entrepreneur that has, as an entrepreneur, full stop, you tend to set yourself, bigger goals than average. You are very rarely satisfied as to where you are at, particularly when you're in the process of starting a business and getting to that. You want to prove to everybody around you that, look at me, I created a business that's bringing in $10,000 a month. So that is a big deal. And the way that we work with that in the Academy is we make sure that we chunk our year up into sort of 3-month segments. And I find that the 3-month is the perfect time to where we sort of plan and prepare, is one way of calling our first stage. Then we optimize. English spelling, I think. Plan, optimize, and then we execute. And we do it in a very, and this is where we accelerate. So this is where we pour on the gas, so to speak. But the reality is, most people think that if I was to draw a chart of their efforts as an entrepreneur, most people think that their energy levels and effectiveness should be at a constant super high level, right? That's what, people, and I work with one-on-one clients, and one of the biggest things that, biggest misconceptions that I have to smash and break is that these successful entrepreneurs that they see, they have these amazingly organized lives where everything is going well, and they've got assistants, and they've got everything working beautifully, and it just goes super well, and they're always on, right? They're 100% on. And that is just rubbish, right? It is completely crap. What's far more realistic, and this is what we encourage in the Academy, is we have these, if we look, and if this is results and efforts and energy, we have these cycles where we break them up into little 3 parts. So we have that planning and preparing, we have that optimize, and we have that execution. Planning, preparing, optimize, execution. Popo. I'm so funny. I just really, I crack myself up. I really do. So, it's very important for you to realize that you just can't, you can't do 100% execution. Another way of describing this is you can't sprint a marathon. You just can't do that, right? So that is a huge misconception that people have. The reality is that most people's days are, you've got 2 to maybe on a really good day 4 hours, but the reality is 2 of really positive execution creative time, and the rest of it is just dealing with the day-to-day of the business. I just read a fabulous article about in Wired about the old Infinite Loop, the old buildings before they went to the spaceship, and you read about Steve Jobs' day, and his day was full of crap, except for some moments of where he was able to work and go down to the design department and work with Johnny on the latest device that they were going to work on. That's the stuff that he loved, but he wasn't able to do that all the time. No way. Every person, and you're seeing and it's a bit of a tragedy at the moment, but you're seeing what happens when somebody tries to work at 100% or maybe even superhuman 200%. They have a nervous breakdown. Can you think of an entrepreneur which so many people admired, who is now currently in a tailspin of dramatic and very public proportions because if you don't, your brain is not capable, your body is not capable of working full on all the time. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully I've got the point through. Does that mean that I insist that you slack off and that you just take it easy and take it chill? No way, right? Simon, who's that? Been on holiday. I would have thought it would have even reached to be on holidays. Check the news. You'll figure out think of the most high profile worshipped entrepreneur on the planet, and you'll have some great holiday catch up reading. Okay. Now, does that mean, like I said, do you go easy? Did Gary V collapse? Yeah, that's very funny. Yes, Elon Musk. God damn it, people. Yes. Surely it's obvious. No, I'm kidding, folks. I am. So, speaking of high-profile people that will probably, completely devolve in front of your very eyes, that could well describe me from October 15 to November 15 this year. For most of you in the academy, you haven't been. I hope you haven't been following what's been going on in the challenge, because you've got your own businesses and you're ready to fire up and focus and working on your own stuff. But in the challenge this year is between October 15 and November 15. I've got people voting on plans that Russell, in fact, today they've just been released. Every day for the next 3 days, Russell's releasing these 10 blueprints of people who would say, hey, if you lost everything, lost your reputation, lost your list, lost your credit cards, lost your money, we're in debt, how would you recover in 30 days? And 30 of his proven, all of these people had to be 2 Comma Club winners. In other words, generate $1 million worth of revenue they must have done it in the last 2 years, because that's how long the 2 Comma Clubs existed. Yes, Daniel, those plans look good. They are brilliant, right? And by the way, newsflash, anybody in the academy should be downloading these. And frankly, you should be paying $100 for the book, the hardcover book of them. Go and have a look at them before you spend your money, and then spend your money, because it's incredibly good plans, right? It's just so worth it. That'll be great to have, to dive into, because you may not be in dire straits, but the resource lists and everything that are in those things and the blueprints are just amazing. Anyway, point being is that what we're doing in the challenge is over the next week, from each day, I'll be selecting 3 plans. And this sort of has to do with 90-day goals. I'll explain why it does in a second. I'll be picking 3 plans from each day. And then on Friday, I reveal the top 9. And then all the challengers are going to vote which one I have to do. And then from October 15 to November 15, I will be working like a nutstick to execute one of these plans as written. It's a bit like, do you remember the dude who lived by the Bible for a year? Well, I'll be living by this plan for 1 month, October 15 to November 15. So, and the idea is to create a business. Now, this will be incredibly intense. I'll tell you right now, this will be incredibly intensive, and it will be a double degree of difficulty for me as well, mainly because I'll not only be building, but I'll be live streaming at the same time. So I'll be educating at the same time, which is insane, frankly. But I want to point it out is that just because I talk about rest and getting the right amount of sleep and all these things and getting your environment right and getting all these things right, it's not a free leave pass for you to go easy and to take it easy and to take it simple. Not at all. I'm just saying when you push the accelerator, plan to push the accelerator, prepare to push the accelerator. So, what's going to be crucial for me, and actually I went through this with the challenges yesterday. And again, this goes to 90-day planning. So when I look at my 90 days, starting basically today and looking forward, between now and October 15, I have to get my affairs in order, right? I have to prepare for that. You just don't decide to run a marathon and run the marathon the next day. You don't decide to play violin at Carnegie Hall and pick up the violin to learn it and then go and play. You will be completely embarrassed. Right? Does that make sense? You have to prepare for these things. You have to plan for these things, but we're constantly bombarded with these, 30, like literally, Russell, here's 30 people with plans to create a business. And some of them have incredibly lofty goals. Like one of them is to create a 30,000 person list in 30 days. Another one, I think, is $100,000 in revenue in 30 days. Right. These are pretty lofty goals. Right. And, it requires a level of intensity of work. We are talking, potentially 8 hours a day. You just can't switch on and say, oh, I'm going to do that plan tomorrow. Yet most people, when we buy a course, go, okay, I'm going to buy the course and I'm going to start it on Monday. And we don't think about the planning. We don't think about the preparation that is required. We go into a big course and we don't think about, our environment. We don't think about our engagements. We don't think about our energy levels. We don't think about all of these things that are absolutely vital to us having a good execution or acceleration process. And so, between now and October 15, it'll be all about preparation. Then it'll be violent execution between October 15 and November 15. And then it will be going to Japan and recovery. right? That is because there's got to be a reward for going Bananarama for a full month. So it's all about planning and preparation. So the core of our 90-day goal setting is to get you set up and get you appropriately positioned, planned, and optimized, ready to execute in a 90-day period. And so that is what we will do. Okay, so now I just want you to just let me know in the chat in fact, let me know as a way to make sure you're with me, because you're about to get put to work. So I want to make sure you're all here. So let's just in the chat, just what was the thing that was sort of like an aha for you, or a something that you figured out what was going on? What was that? What was the thing that was the biggest point of what you got in what we've discussed so far? I'll just give you 30 seconds. Set a timer for 30 seconds. There we go. Oh, it's great. They're coming through at a great speed here. Remember that I can't sprint continuously. You can't sprint a marathon. Prep is so important. The cycle of actions, POPO. Break it into mini plans. The importance of preparation before execution. I need help preparing. Reward after Bananarama. Yes, I did use that word. The reward at the end, still not good at building that in. The reminder that I need to add recover time after a big sprint. Even Steve Jobs' day was filled with crap, and he took big holidays, right? This is, something like he would take himself off to Hawaii for 4 to 6 weeks after a launch. Every time after the iPhone was launched and a big product was launched, he would be off in Hawaii with his family. That's what annoyed him so much about the you're holding it wrong controversy, because he had to break into his holiday. Non-business stuff you need to focus on before you undertake something like this. Yes, that's so true. Most people in the academy, right, have day-to-day commitments, right? So that is a big part of this. Work in chunks of 3 months. Start with planning, ends with success. I'm finally starting to understand and implement the idea of working less to do more. I know you've been telling this to do it for ages, but in this last few weeks have literally changed the way I've worked and still seen major progress. Exactly. Cycling work, intensity and recovery, right, Donald? That's something that you do every day. Remember with Goscu and all of that, right? That's all part of it. There's intensity, there's effort and recovery. Some of the biggest breakthroughs in peak performance have been all about how peak performing athletes, musicians, Broadway performers do recovery, right? It's the biggest deal in peak performance right now. Okay. Good. Well done, folks. Good participation. Let's get into this. So let's look at some criteria for our 90-day goal setting. Okay, so what are the criteria? Why do I use fancy words I can't spell? What's the criteria that we want to look at? So first, some of you will be familiar with the concept. Veteran Academy members will be familiar with the hard ruler. So I'm going to talk you through that, particularly for those of you in the academy. Very, very important. The next thing I want to talk about is metrics. How are you going to measure your goal? And then the thing that I want to talk about is can you fit it in a wheelbarrow? Oh, I amuse myself so much. The reasons I say, can you fit it in a wheelbarrow? Can you fit your 90-day goal in a wheelbarrow? Is I was once explained, as you, and this may be a shock to some of you, that I failed English in high school. Frankly, most of you here, a lot of you Europeans, English is your second language and you do it far better than I do. But one of my English teachers, in frustration of trying to explain what a noun was that you can fit it in a wheelbarrow, right? Any noun is something that exists in the world, and that you can put it, if you can put it in a wheelbarrow, then it's a noun, right? You can't put run in a wheelbarrow because it's an action, which I believe English folks is a verb, right? We're going to actually come back to that in a second, but this noun is really important. Another way of putting it is, what does done look like? Yeah, exactly, Andrew. I did fail English, but it was made up in my incredible artistic skills. That is so true, Andrew. You're absolutely correct. So what does done look like is absolutely vital. If your 90-day goal is build a business, well, that sucks, right? Because you don't know, what does it look like? What's it doing? What are you selling? There's no way that you can build a business in a wheelbarrow. Indeed, building a business is a verb, right? So a business is the noun, but you've got a verb in your goal. So there's no way it can be good. There's no way for you to visualize it, right? There's no way for you to understand. If you can't visualize what the end product of your 90-day goal is, then that's a real challenge. And for a lot of people too, they have monetary goals, right? So let's say, your first 90 days, if you haven't started a business, then maybe it's, make your first dollar. If your business is well and truly on track, it may be $1,000 of revenue or $10,000 of revenue or whatever it is, right? That's all fine, but that is an outcome, right? That is a symptom of the underlying work that you did, right? It's like a score points. But the underlying thing that we need to focus on and we need to measure is, well, what are you going to build to generate that revenue? So just having a revenue goal is not good enough not good enough in the academy. Let's put it that way. Because there's all this stuff underneath it that needs to happen. Okay, so that is a big deal. So I want you to start ruminating on that. Okay, let's do a fun activity. Audience participation. Chris says it's tough to train the brain how to describe useful outcomes. It's a different thought process to that we usually operate in. You're absolutely right, Chris. Spot on. Let's do a fun activity. Okay, right now, before we do anything else, I'm going to give you all 2 minutes to write down your 90-day goal. And when you're finished, pop it in the chat window. Okay, so when you're finished, pop it in the chat. So if you finish inside the 2 minutes, that's cool. Just pop your goal in the chat window. Okay, I'm not going to read out individual goals. It's just an exercise for you, right? So I'm not going to read out chat names to the chats, but I just want to let's get a starting point. Let's get a base level for our 90-day goal. Sharon says, what if we don't know yet? Well, that's a challenge, right? So that is a big deal, right? If you don't know enough to visualize what you would do in 90 days, well, that's a real problem, right? So so your goal has to be around identification, doesn't it? That's the thing. Oh, some of you already started. I haven't even hit the timer. Okay, I'm going to hit the timer. Set a timer for 2 minutes. Yeah, so if you don't know enough to visualize what I would do in 90 days, then your goal has to be around that. Squad veterans showing the way here. Okay, we've got a minute. Fifteen seconds. All right. Awesome. Well done, everybody. So good. That's where we're starting. So let's apply some well, dare I say it, rulers to those initial goals. Let's see if we can tighten them up. Let's see if we can turn them into a suitable process. So I'm not going to read out who these are, but I just want you to listen to two versions of two versions. So one here is have 10 people who have bought my implementation course through a single repeatable and profitable paid funnel using Facebook advertising. That's one 90-day goal. And another one is find a suitable roadmap. Okay, so if you start there, just on the basis of which do you think, if A is the first one I read and B is the second one I read, just based on and by the way, one is a veteran, which one of those do you think, just off the top of your head, is more likely to succeed? Right, A's. Yeah, right. Yeah, of course, right? So that's that's not to shame the B person. I didn't say who you were, but most people, the vast majority of people, when they do their 90-day like goal setting or any sort of goal setting, really B is the gold standard for, I'm going to write my book. I'm going to start my business. I'm going to, create a 4-hour work week, all of these sorts of things, right? That's just the nature of it, right? So that is, that's the way, when you haven't been shown any differently, that's the standard way we do this. So now let's take that information, let's take that and let's apply some rules to help you get that far more visual, right? And so the first thing, and perhaps the most important thing, is one of the things when we do a 90-day goal is we really need to do a reality check, right? And this is this hard ruler I was talking about. Hard. And at one end, we've of course got easy. And at the other end, we've got hard. It's funny, I was showing this to the challengers yesterday in terms of helping analyze, because we use this ruler all over the place. We use it when we're evaluating plans and roadmaps, and we use it when we're doing goal setting exercises. But in the academy, we're looking at it from a very different perspective, right? Because really, what we've got to check, the first thing, I want you to have a look at that goal that you just wrote it for yourself. And just you can do this on pen and paper or, wherever it is. If hard was 10, in fact, do this in the chat. That'll be fun. If hard is 10 and easy is 1, just straight off the top of your head, based on your own, just on your own view, where 10, this feels really hard to do in the 90 days, or 1 is, yeah, I've got this nailed, no problems. This is an absolute certainty. That's great. Just rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, and you're not allowed to use the number 7. You're not allowed to use the number 7. Gotcha, Chris. No, Dan, not 7.1. 7's piss week world. We got 5s, we got 6s, we got 9s, we got 8s, 6. People deleting there. Very important. 7's piss week world. There is no 7 is a ridiculous number. It's a get out of jail number. Okay, cool. All right. So we've got various numbers, which is great. So now let's apply the Ed Dale criteria to this, and let's see if your number changes. So if we called easy, so whatever your 90-day goal is, I have done this many times before. And got result. Okay, so that's the Ed Dale definition of 1 easy. I've done this goal many times before and got the result. Okay, so that's the Ed Dale easy spectrum. At the other end of the Ed Dale hard ruler, TM, is I have not done it. I don't know of anyone who has. No roadmaps. Okay, so now the scale takes on a different sort of categorization. So 10 super hard is basically you being a pioneer. You've never done it before. You don't know of anybody who has achieved that 90-day goal. And there are no known roadmaps. You've got no map to follow per se. So you really are charting new territory. And my hopes for you in the academy, if that is the goal that you have, and I didn't notice anybody with a goal, then that would be something that you would need to change your goal, right? You would need to readjust it. Where I want the academy is in this stretch, what I call stretch part. By the way, if you are an easy, like if you are a 1 or a 2, so you've done this plenty of times before and you've got that result, you need to push yourself more, because if you're not growing, you're dying, right? You need to amp up your goal, right? You're cruising, and cruising means dying, right? So maybe you need to create a team. If it's that, if things are like, if your goals are generally, and this goes for activities, actions, you can apply this at the micro level or the macro level, like we're doing here in the 90 days, right? If we're doing that, then really what you need to explore are things like outsourcing, building a team. Right, so you outsource this, because you're not applying any, at that point, when something's easy and repeatable, you're not applying any value anymore, right? You're much better off, looking for, creating new funnels, building new traffic, creating new sales pages, new products, et cetera, understanding the market better, all of those sorts of, there's a world of things that you could be doing where you are adding your value. Okay. So this stretch area, for the purposes of the goal, is you personally you have not done it. And this is the sort of where you put it on the spectrum, right? Is of many people who have, and of course, you have a map. You have a roadmap. So when you look at when you score, then you say, do I know? Okay, I know of one person who's done this before. Great. Roger Bannister just ran the 4-minute mile. So we know that it is possible. Now, obviously he did it in the 50s, but go with me on this, right? So, it's done, right? It is possible, right? But you haven't done it, obviously, right? Because so that means it's a stretch. It's going to be a new thing for you. Now, the quantity, whether that becomes more like a 4 or if there's lots of people who have done it before, then that drops the number a little bit, makes it a little bit easier towards the easy side. If you only know a couple of people who have done it, then that moves it to the hard side. Are there maps? Is there a roadmap? If you've decided a proven roadmap, then that moves it down. You score down a little bit, right? That's nice. That's easier, right? And is it a map that fits your lifestyle and fits the time available that you have to do? Many different types of maps. We talked about this in the challenge yesterday, actually. There's even all those Russell Brunson 30-day maps. There are some there that will work really well for people, and there were some which will just absolutely not. One of them is, and this was a bit, you'll all find this hilarious. One of them was a party planning 30-day. Like, one of the ways to recover was to have the equivalent of Tupperware parties, and so if people voted for me to do that, I would commit seppuku. Like, there's no way I am going to hold Tupperware parties or the equivalent. I'm talking a but here's the thing. Hear me out here. I laugh because I would never do that in a million billion years. However, for the right type of person, it's a fantastic thing to do. Very smart way to recover, right? If you're that type of person, but that's not me, right? I'm 100% the opposite. So that is a big deal as well. So now, if you look at that as criteria, now I want you to have a look at your number, and if you only if you changed it, type it into the chat. What's your new number that you've put in based on the Ed Dale hard ruler criteria? Cool. Good stuff. Okay. But as they say in the classics, but wait, there's more. Measure. Right? Measuring is crucial. How do you measure your goal? What is the metric? Now, the veteran squad members, veteran academy students, our seniors, if you will, you'll notice something about their goals is that they had metrics in them. They had a measurement in them. And if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Right. So if your goal didn't have a measurable element in it, then we need to add one in. Right. So that one of, right. So, how are you going to measure your goal? Right. How are you going to know that it's done? What thing are you going to measure? Create funnel for my first product. What does that mean? That means nothing, right? How are you going to measure that? What does success look like, right? What metrics are we going to use to determine that the funnel, how do we know it's created? We know what a funnel looks like, but what measurement are we using to determine success over the 90 days? So we need some sort of measurable element to your goal, because if we can't measure it, then it is useless as a goal, because there's no way, we can't do back of the napkin numbers, we can't build a plan around it, we can't do any of those things. So we need to add a measurable element. So what I want you to do now is I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to refine your goal based on measurable. But before you start, the other thing I want you to look at is we can use our hard ruler in terms of our measurability as well. Keep in mind, have you, done before many times? Many times? Is it the easy end of the spectrum? Never done? Hard. All right. So, that's a hard, easy thing. Do I have a roadmap? If yes, then that moves more down towards the easier type of the section. If you don't have a roadmap, that moves it to the hard section. Okay. So those, we can use our adjustments. So, okay, I'll give you 2 minutes. Set a timer for 2 minutes. Have a think about, okay, what's the metric? How do I know? What am I going to measure in this 90 days to know that I am successful? And you may be tempted at this point to put a dollar figure. No. You can't use a dollar figure because the dollar figure is a symptom of a whole bunch of other work that you are doing, right? So just putting a dollar is not good enough, because dollar, then we look at a dollar figure is a thing that's out of our control. Right? It's out of our control, that dollar figure. So you need to look at doing something which is more in your control. Okay. So, Sam put it out there in public. Sam put one here, which is a great one. Get to 1,000 individual paying customers. We're just above 600 right now. So she's looking for a 40% increase. Whatever it is. I don't do public math, right? That is, like, she's got a process. It's a process which she needs to improve and maybe speed up, but that's a good, like, that is a nice tangible goal, as opposed to putting a dollar figure there, right? So that's why, it's hard to measure the dollar figure is like the outcome of a bunch of processes and things that we should measure. Okay, time's up. Pop your new goal in the chat. And yeah, yeah, John, I thank you. I think I answered that. Measurement, number of conversions per week. Success being 2.5 conversions or more. Nice. Amount of paying customers is a good goal. Absolutely. That's a good goal, Wendy. It's mostly just rinse and repeat. Yeah, for most of the time. So then, Sam, if it is mostly just rinse and repeat, then your challenge is, hey, is that rinse and repeat with you involved, or is it rinse and repeat with a team? How can you, if it's just rinse and repeat, then maybe think about, what can you do to improve this and free up more time for you even more? Maybe that's one. Rewrite sales page until it converts at 2 or more sales per week. So again, that the sales is that's an outcome. A sale is an outcome, whereas what it converts at, the percentage that it converts at, is that is something that then we can apply metrics to. So I would suggest maybe a tweak there of a conversion number. For what it's worth, typically my when I'm looking at cold traffic, I use a 1% myself personally. 9 paying customers in 90 days, have 5 paying customers from a growable business. What does growable business mean? Right? What does growable business? That's growable, a verb. To grow, a verb. What does that mean? Right? We need to flesh that out. I don't know what a growable business looks like. Get 20 appointments with prospects for IT training generated through LinkedIn outreach. Lovely. Love it. Implement client onboarding and education via autoresponder sequences in our CRM. I have a roadmap for that. Nice. Consultancy funnel, 2 new customers per month. Nice. There you go. Very good, Sam. Nice addition. So the way that you're going about turning the 600 to 1,000 is starting to, they've been word of mouth. So paid media, affiliate sales, individual outreach. Love it. Love, love, love. 4 paying customers per month medium. So again, how are you going to generate those 4 paying customers per month minimum? What roadmap are you going to use? What process are you going to do? Launch podcast, have 20 episodes and 30 guided audio content pieces for membership site. Start 2 to 3 a week. Now, 20 episodes, if we look at 90 days, so 90 day, that's approximately, roughly speaking, 12 weeks. So that's more than 1 episode a week. So you need to be comfortable with that and generating 30 content audio pieces. So, you have to run a little ruler over that, but that's much more specific. Like it. Launch 6-week prototype course with 10 customers. Nice. Also have to have my membership site live and working. All right, cool. Create a Sage to get 100 email addresses, then market a webinar to those leads to promote a 6-week course that'll be created for them and with them. Nice. Have 10 people who bought my implementation course through a single repeatable profitable paid funnel, Facebook advertising following Justin Brooks' roadmap, and my current converting VSL. Ed, by growable business, I mean that it's something that can scale up. Well, what does scale up mean? You've used another verb, right? And Daniel, I appreciate this because this is a great example, right? I'm not being harsh on you or trying to be funny. Like that's real. You've described 2 fluff words, growable and scalable. I don't know what that means, right? How do we describe that? It's okay. Tough love helps me grow. Good on you, Daniel. Yeah, that's right. Right. What does scalable business mean? Right? Does it mean that there's a market size so that 1% of the market? So if you create a great business and you get 1% of the market, but there's a total addressable market of 300 people, as compared to a total addressable market of 300,000 people, then 1% of one will see you broke, 1% of the other will see you a millionaire. So do you see total addressable market, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, Daniel, might be a way of showing a scalable business. So is the total addressable market large enough to make this worthwhile? Right. And that's the cool thing, is that once you have this goal, then the final part of what I wanted you to have a look at is just to sanity check it. Because if you've got measurable numbers, and I'll just pick one as an example, just to show you this, and this is where we'll finish this, right? So where are we? Where was... There we are. So I did it with Christy. So let's continue with Christy. So Christy here has 20 episodes. And you heard me say, okay, well, based on a 90-day scale, which has approximately 12 weeks in it, that's more than 1 episode per week. So now I don't know Kirsty well yet. You're one of our new members, so welcome. But have you ever done, maybe you can let me know in the chat, have you ever done a podcast before? Right? So Christy, I should say, not Kirsty, Christy. I'm sorry, my eyes, it's quite small there, so I apologize. So Christy, just let us know in the chat, have you ever done a podcast before? Because if she's never done a podcast before, then I've just recorded a few by myself, but not a whole series. So you're going to get other people. So, 20 episodes. And yeah, so what, so you go, okay, what format? Is it just by yourself That makes it easier because you don't have to schedule anybody in. Or are you doing an interview format, which means you have to schedule and herd cats to get people, which ups the degree of degree of difficulty. So if it's by yourself, that's easy, easier, I should say. So, and so you have published a couple. So they've been in the store and, right. So no, not in the store, not out. Right. So here's the thing. 20 episodes, I would argue, is for somebody who hasn't done published podcasts before, like got them out into the marketplace, 20 is too aggressive. At one a week would be stretching it, right? Because when you look at and again, I don't know your individual situation. So, and this is exactly what we talk about in Engage sessions. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. This is the perfect Engage sessions are the perfect opportunity for you and I to talk, so we can figure out exactly where this sort of works and fits, right? So you're doing 20 episodes of that, and each of those episodes, if we talk, and again, we use the language of CFTs. Right? To do a podcast, you are talking a bare minimum of 3 CFTs a week. Bare minimum. And when you're starting, it might look more like 5 or 6. So that's 3 50-minute sessions. And we have to ask, do you have 6 CFTs to do that? And do you have, and the answer might be yes, no problem. That's great. But you were also talking about a bunch of other media as well that you were producing, as well as Facebook Lives. Each Facebook Live is a CFT. But you say, hang on a second, a Facebook Live, I just turn it on and start talking to the camera. No, you don't. Well, you do. But what about promoting that? What about letting other people know about the Facebook Live? What about boosting the post so that we can test its virality, so we can decide whether we can put a full marketing campaign behind it? All those elements, right? So by definition, and tagging it properly and getting the headline right and doing all of those type of things. Thank you, Chris. That's exactly what a CFT is. Critical focus time. 50-minute work sessions focused on a defined task or outcome. Correctamundo. 2 points for Chris. So that we need to look at sanity checks. And so that's what I want you to do as we're in this Scrum week and we're about to go in our Scrum session. So over the next 24 hours, or if you join us on the replay for the Scrum session, then what I want you to do is I want you to look at it and I want you to think about how do you, does the goal that I set stand up to a sanity check? And if you're not 100% sure, by the way, next week when we're back in our Engage sessions in the Academy, then it's a perfect opportunity for you to ask me directly. And so we can work through and I can take you through on the whiteboard and figure out exactly how we can make that happen and how that sets, right? Because let me leave you with this final thought, and this will be it for the week. Okay. The reason I want to spend so much time on these 90-day goals is the science of expectation. We are bombarded with, you just open up Facebook, you open up Instagram, and there's all these successful people in exotic locations, in their leased Lambos, in their, they're all there, they're living their amazing lives, the photo of you see their feet with the pool and the laptop. And that's total bullshit, by the way, because if anybody has tried to use their laptop at the beach or by a pool and they say that their screen works and it's comfortable to use, they are full of shit. You can quote me, right? That's bull dust. Anyway, I digress. So we set these expectation levels. And here's the problem in business. Whether we meet our expectation level is how we judge whether we have got the goal or not. But importantly, far more importantly, it decides whether dopamine, the chemical, is released in your brain. Right? Dopamine being the chemical that makes you want to form habits and wants you to do things on a repeated basis. So when you watch Housewives of Atlanta, you get a little, when Nene does her thing and spills the tea, then we get a little burst of dopamine. Oh, isn't that cool? Look at what Nene's doing now, right? Dopamine. When we have a hit of heroin, right? Big dopamine hit, right? Which is unfortunately why it's addictive and terrible for your health. Don't do that. Don't do drugs, kids, right? But with business, okay, so dopamine can be bad and form bad habits, but it can also form good habits, right? And in business, if you meet your expectations, you get that release of dopamine. So it's very important. And this happens at the micro level, like what you achieve in a 50-minute CFT session, or in a 90-day session, whether you achieve something. So we need to make sure that the sanity check has your expectations at a realistic level. So we've got a chance to beat them or meet them and get that dopamine so we can see our forward movement. And here's the little cheat, right? Here's the little secret. It doesn't matter. Your brain can go, oh, geez, Ed, you're setting that bar pretty low. But guess what? Even if you set the bar really low and then you meet that low bar, guess what? You get a dopamine hit, right? And it starts to make it more addictive. Wouldn't it be awesome that you're as excited to do a 50-minute CFT as you are to do Clash Royale or Candy Crush or any one of those addictive things on your phone, or open up Facebook? Wouldn't it be exciting if imagine that urge to open up Facebook, you had that same urge to work on your business instead. That's what we want to build here in the Academy, right? That's a core part of what we're trying to lay down, right? Is that we want you to be excited to do your business, and we want you to do your business. And the way we do that is we keep giving you wins, even if they're easy wins, and we build that momentum because we keep getting that dopamine rush. And that means we want to do it again and again and again. Okay. So we use the science of addiction in a really positive way. All right. That's it for the 90-day session. Before you go, though, I would like you to put in, what's your big insight from today of the whole session? What was your big insight? I'm just going to give you I'm going to give you 2 minutes to type that into the chat. Set a timer for 2 minutes. Getting specific. Ed trying to make addicts out of all of us. Yes, addicts for your Academy project. Right? That's what I'm trying to do, right? I'm trying to get you addicted to your Academy project. Clarity, clarity, clarity. Set the bar lower to keep longer forward momentum. Absolutely. Check your wheelbarrow. Yes, very good. The dopamine gets released even if the expectations are seemingly low. Yes, even if you know that. Visualization of end goal, revenue is not enough. Make goals specific and set them. Science of expectations, measurable metrics with realistic expectations. Have measurable goals. Measure, measure, measure. Metrics can empower me to experience success that I never realized I was having before. Yes, you're so right. One of the biggest challenges that business people have success all the time, but they don't acknowledge it because their expectations are so high that they don't realize, like, you may have just done an absolutely super crucial thing for your business, but because your expectations are set so high, you don't realize how important it was to have that particular breakthrough. Okay, we got 30 seconds. Yes, and any sort of celebration or reward is a way to lock in the positive addiction. Importance of a sanity check. Yes, so true. Do stuff enough times, small steps, repetition. Who's the famous entrepreneur having a public burnout? It's Elon Musk. And he's literally blowing up in public, which is sad. Oh, smoking with Joe Rogan is the least of the stuff that he has done. That is the minimum. And it's all you can't burn the candle at both ends. For me, being so new, I think micro commitments to start with, building relationships, nice. I need a moment of clarity in the chaos I've had lately, and this has really helped. Fantastic. That is what I want to see. All right, folks, that is it for today. Thank you very much, Academy members. We have our very important. It's the biggest time of the month is our Scrum session, particularly when we're building a new Scrum cycle. So if you can tune in live, that's awesome. Or make sure you catch the replay. And this is the most productive 90 days, for all businesses. This September, October, November is game time. So let's make it big, and I'll certainly be making it big. And you might see me publicly flame out and be smoking blunts with Joe Rogan by the end of my 30-day challenge. Oh dear. All right. That's it. All right. Have fun. Let's turn this out. All right. Beautiful. All right.